Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for tuning in again. We're moving on up in this podcast. Why I say that is today is our first CEO on the show.
Oh, I'm glad.
Mr. KC Makhubele, welcome.
Some may say that he's the most original dentist in South Africa, but he's not even a dentist. He's the leader of the dentists.
Yeah.
Casey, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah.
This is a pleasure for me to be here.
Yes.
So I really appreciate, and I'm actually very happy that I got invited. I got to learn about your podcast somewhere else. So for me to be here today, I feel good.
Well, we feel great to have you.
Yeah.
I mentioned CEO. Casey is the CEO of the South African Dental Association, right? We'll get into that. That's not why he's here. I want him here as a person, and I want to find out the person behind Casey. Now, there's something about great men in the sense that a lot of great men of our times are known to be university dropouts. There's something you might not know about Casey. I don't know, Yak, you're smiling. Casey knows where I'm going.
Yeah.
You were a medical student.
That's correct. I've been a medical student at the University of Cape Town for 3 years. So I did call it in medicine your third year at UCT at that time. That is the last year of your preclinical years. And at the end of that year, I had a challenge, and I left the university thinking that I will skip a year and go back. But it never happened.
We must unpack that as we move on. But
Yeah.
How did you end up there, Casey? Like, when you were a young boy growing up, I want to hear from you. Where did you grow up? What was it like? Did you say to yourself, I want to be a doctor one day? Or what was it like? So where are you from? Tell us.
Yeah. So I come from a village, a rural village called Matiyani. Matiyani is in Minga, as in like the tribal authority, if you understand the makeup of villages in the rural setup in South Africa. That tribal authority falls under Malamulele. Malamulele is in the former Gazankulu homeland, which is in Limpopo. In actual fact, just to give you an idea, my village is bounded by the Kruger National Park boundary on its eastern side. And if you have been that side, it is I think it's the uppermost.
That's the most northern gate you find. Yeah.
The uppermost gate to the Kruger National Park from South Africa.
South African side.
Punda Maria on the R524, which start from the N1 in Makado, the former Louis Richard, if you have an idea. That's my village.
Wow.
If you allow me, because I think that's important for me to always say this. I used to look after cattle. All right. You graduate over time. You look after chicken, you look after pigs, you look after goats, you look after donkeys, then you look after cattle.
What's the criteria to move on to the next category?
When you are younger.
Keeping them alive.
When you are younger, they will always say, make sure that the chicken are in their places at a particular time. But the point I wanted to say to you is, as a head boy, or looking after cattle.
Herd boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called a head boy.
Yeah.
Not the head boy at school. At night, I actually would have to deal with wild animals.
So predators as well.
So yeah. So if we had a noise, a commotion in the cross, we used to keep the cross in our yards. You knew that there was either the less difficult animals to deal with. There was a hyena. That's easy to deal with. A hyena will hardly harm a human being. Then you could actually have a leopard. Now, a leopard can actually harm you. Or you could have a lion. Those were the most 3 common animals that attacked our cattle at night. So I dealt with those, literally.
Wow. So how do you get to having this role in your community? I mean, okay, you're the son of who? Of what?
No, it all depends whether your family has got cattle. It's simple as that. Or if you are asked by either an extended family member or one of the community members, because they don't have a boy, to look after their cattle. That's how it is. There's no criteria really.
Do you come from like royalty, Limpopo royalty,
no,
or
no.
Yeah?
I wish.
You know what? Because one of my colleagues who watches the show, she
Yeah.
says to me, Yash, the rags to riches story is such it's a common story in South Africa because most of us grow up poor and then make something.
Yeah.
So she's like, you need to get some royalty on the show, somebody privileged. So you're not you don't put that.
No,
Okay.
I'm not directly from royalty. Although my family, as in when I say family, I'm talking now my surname. There is a Makhubele. There is a part of us that actually have got a village named after them, and therefore they are royalty in that I don't belong to that village. I know in terms of the extended family, they are part of my family, but really I don't associate with any royalty. Our lineage within the bigger scope of things are not royalty.
And what's your mother tongue?
Tsonga. Yeah. So properly called Tsonga. Yeah.
I know.
I like it.
Bit. Yeah.
I like it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my mother tongue.
One of we have 11 official languages.
Yes.
So schooling, how does that work? I mean, you learn in Tsonga.
In Tsonga. So I'm very older than both of you.
Mm-hmm. That makes you young still. Exactly. We've got more gray hair than both of you. Than you, sorry.
So during my time, it was just before the 1994 era. And at school, you were forced to learn Afrikaans.
Okay.
So I learned Afrikaans as my second language, tweede taal, hoërgraad. I learned English, second language, higher grade, and you learn Xitsonga as your mother tongue, and you chose all other subjects, whether you wanted to go the science stream, the economics stream, or the agricultural, religious stream. And I took the science stream. And I did my primary school right in the village, and I did my high school that catered for maybe 7 to 10 villages. We didn't have too many. I had to travel to go to school every day. Literally, I had to travel
distance?
To go to school. If I would, probably 15 Ks.
Yeah.
But those times when I was young, it was very difficult to get to school. If you were lucky to use a bus, because we didn't have taxis at the time. If you had to use a bus, you needed to be at the bus stop by 3 o'clock in the morning to be at school at 7:30.
That's crazy.
And it was for 15 Ks.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but over time, my dad and my granddad, they gave me a bicycle. So that meant that I had some sort of a control over the time. So about 45 minutes I would be at school.
So wait, you go to school, and when do you herd the cattle? After hours?
After hours. So you go to school in the morning. When you come back from school, you get home, you eat, then you go to the forest to look for the cattle. So how we used to work in terms of that is that if the kraal is closer to me, I would maybe work with you, the two of you. Say if the kraal was closer to you guys, in the morning you would actually open the kraal, take the cattle out on my behalf. And then when I come back, I would join you guys in the afternoon and to go and look for the cattle.
But does the cattle have like free rein to like just roam around and do what they wanted, or someone needed to be herding them at all times?
So it depends on the seasons. In what I call an open season, so the season when we are not planting crops. So just think about the villages. We lived out of actually farming. Subsistence fund. Yeah. So crops, vegetables, mealies.
Nothing was sold. You guys?
No, you sold the surplus.
Okay.
So when you lived out of that, and you would make sure that you've got enough between seasons for your family. But anything that you considered surplus, you could go and sell for those that do not have farms or who did not get the crops, because it always differed. So in the season when the crops have been planted, the cattle knew that when we take them out to the forest and it was a bit dry, they would rather come back and get the greens. So during those days, not necessarily that you stayed with your cattle, but you would all take it to the forest, and then it's like a particular boundary where all of you would maybe me and 3 others will sit here, another 4 in another kilometer to make sure none of the kettles, whether it's yours or you breach that boundary to go to the farms. But outside of that, yes, they have free range. Or free roaming.
Just quickly back to the bus. I mean, why was it taking the bus 3 hours, 4 hours even? It sounds like the magic school bus to me.
Because there weren't enough buses. So there was one bus that started in my village, most of the time. So some of them came from my village. It went to another village. From that village to another village before it gets to school.
People
and in one village you don't necessarily collect from one place. It stopped from everywhere. Unlike now, like you get into a bus, you tap a card.
It's
easier.
very
Those days he would stop if he doesn't have what they called a assistant conductor or a conductor.
Dr. Lindy is pretending he doesn't go in buses. Now he just Ubers.
I lived in Mauritius. I know exactly what buses are. He's never been in a bus.
No, but so what I'm saying is, at one station you would wait for sometimes 15 to 30 minutes because he has to change the money. It was cash. So you get the money, he changes, he gives it back until everyone is paid and seated. He moves to the next station. And if you have 3 stations in a village or 4 stations in a bus stations, you understand you're going to take about an hour in that village.
So you had long days as a schoolboy.
Yes, very.
And do you have what's it like being a schoolboy in the village there? What do you do? I mean, are you exposed to professionals? What makes you? What I'm going to get at is, how does somebody from the village? And it may be a stupid question, because we know that a herder, a prominent person that used to herd cattle in our country was Mandela, right?
Yeah.
So it's obvious you can become president.
Yeah.
But what were you thinking of when you were in school? Did you have aspirations? Or?
Yes, I did. So let me start by saying, when things have changed now, obviously people can travel and they see things on TV. I mean, when I was still young in primary school, we didn't have TV in my house. Possibly there was only one TV around the village. So just to a level where it was very difficult. You had to imagine things. I did science, physical science as an example. And when we talk of locomotives and all that, I did not know what a train looked like. I had to think. When they say, when they talk about the motion and all of those, I had to think and imagine a train. I'd never seen a train until much later in my life, and I came in here. So when I was growing up, there were really, I would say, 3 prominent career choices that you could look at, or which were spoken about. You either became a teacher, you became a nurse, not so much medicine. You became a nurse or a policeman. Those were most of the things that, in actual fact, our grandparents and our parents, they will tell you that that was the only thing they thought of. When you complete, at that time it was called Standard 5, which is grade 12 today. When you complete that, you're going to go to school.
Oh, you mean matric, Standard 10?
Yes.
Standard 10. Yeah.
You're going to go and become you're going to go and become, it was called Form 5. So Form 5, not Standard 5. Form 5.
Right.
You are going to grow and you're going to go and become a teacher. Okay. So in my case, I latched on to teaching. I never liked, I didn't see a nurse as being, I loved what they do, but it was not aligning with me. But here's the interesting fact, which even today, I don't know what was going through my mind. My wanting to be a teacher, because that's all I thought. I didn't want to be a teacher. I wanted to be a principal.
Okay.
Very
specific.
Yes. But I thought...
When was this? When you were in high school or what?
Primary school.
So you wanted to control all the teachers, and now you're controlling all the teachers.
I don't think control, but I thought I had so many ideas to do at school that I could change the way. So I wanted to be a principal. In my mind, I thought you can actually go to school and learn to be a principal. That's what I wanted.
That's very interesting because, I mean, the role that we see you now and that you are is quite synonymous with this pattern of thinking all the way back then into be involved in leadership, not just be part of the system.
Yeah. Can I tell you one thing? When in primary school, I went to our principal at one time. First, I went to what we call the deputy principal. I don't know what they call him now, but I think it's the same thing here. I went to a deputy principal. I said, I want to speak to the principal. There were certain things I was worried about. I got like, we've got a playground, which we call a sports ground at the time. The only thing that we did was athletics, running. That was it. So I went to the deputy principal, and he was my neighbor and a friend to my dad, in actual fact. He wasn't convinced that I've got great ideas and I'm too young to think about these big things. I said, I want to make suggestions, and I told him. And he never allowed me to.
What age is this? Or what grade? Can you remember?
Possibly, it was what's called standard 3, so that's grade 5.
Okay, that's like you're probably 10 years old.
Yeah. Around there. And I ultimately forced myself to say, I said, can I come and see you? And he didn't know what I was coming to, the principal now, because the deputy principal was, not allowing me there. And I went to see him. I said, I just have an idea. Look what is happening. We've got this open field, and we had 2 open fields, one inside the yard, the other one is a sports ground. Why outside of athletics? Why? No, first I said, I don't like the fact that all of us are being forced to go and run. Not everyone wants to run, and not everyone enjoy running. I used to be a sprinter, but I never wanted to be in competition. But I said, outside of when the athletic season is finished, why don't we buy soccer and let people play soccer, those who want to play soccer, and maybe in the yard play basketball for the ladies, but basically look at other sporting activities to use, even if it means after hours. Because when we live here, besides going to look after cattle, there was nothing else that we're doing. Weekends, there was nothing else we were doing. There were no recreational centers in my time. And he took that. And at one stage, I think it might have taken a year or somebody actually did that. Although he said, I have thought of this and all that, but that's fine. And we started having set extra sporting activities beyond athletics. That's me.
So you've been doing stakeholder engagement and advocacy for your peers from the age of 10 years old, around standard 3, grade 5.
Yes.
Where does this come from?
I have no clue.
What did your dad do? Was he like a prominent figure in the
community? He was influential.
Okay.
My dad did not go very far at school at the time that I was at school. My dad actually completed his schooling, formal schooling, in what was called Form 3 at the time, junior certificate. He told me it was called junior certificate. But that was one of the highest during his time. So he actually basically finished school.
Yes.
My dad actually did matric during my time. When I was doing matric, I was letting my dad to do matric.
Okay.
He did my matric as a correspondent or distance learning. He did matric during my time. So my dad was educated, if you look at his time, and he was very influential in the community that way. And he definitely has leadership. So if I were to say, where do I get it? Possibly from my dad. My mom, on the other hand, she did not really go to school. But my mom, during my time, she also did adult education and training. And she moved from 0, where she could not even write or read any letters, to where she could write and read letters.
I want to dig in a bit deeper, because when I was 10 years old, right, I wouldn't have even thought to go to the deputy principal or the principal.
Yeah.
And do you think, like, did your parents encourage you to be outspoken, or can I put it this way? Did they not discourage you? Did you come from a family which said children must be seen and not heard, or how did that work?
Yeah. So this is where, and even today I speak to my dad. I think I've always been, in a good way, rebellious to the norm.
Okay.
I come from an environment where the parents, what they say is gospel.
Okay.
You have to listen, but even if you think it's wrong, you can't say you're wrong. And I rebelled from day one. From day one, I rebelled. I'm going to use this use this example. My dad used to smoke, and he used to drink a lot. My mom used to drink a lot. In actual fact, both my parents, over time, they became alcoholics. Okay? One time, my dad said to me, it's a story that I don't fully remember, but he says to me, he reminded me, or he told me that how he left smoking. So he says one day he used to send me to go and buy his cigarettes, buy his alcohol. And one day, apparently I said to him, after he gave me some money, it was little money, to go and buy some cigarettes. I said, Dad, can I ask you a question? And he agreed. So I said, if I take this money and go and buy cigarettes, how many people of the family are going to benefit? And he said, myself. I said, if we changed the equation around and I took the same money and I went to buy a loaf of bread, how many people are going to benefit? He says he did not like that, but it hit home. My dad left smoking. My dad left smoking. From that moment, something that he still remembers, and he reminded me of it. So I came from that environment where I've always challenged the norm. I always thought differently. And that I cannot explain how it came about. Please allow me, this does not sound good, but I'm going to tell you this. One of my best friends, who is still alive today, is a pastor. He was my best friend. He reminds me of the times we used to sit around just talking about life. And if he agreed with me like 2 to 3 times, I hit him. Sorry to say that, but I hit him because I hated the fact that he's agreeing with me. And I would tell him, why do you want to agree with me all the time? I wanted, and even today, I actually like people that challenge me because I think it makes me grow. So I've always been a little bit a rebellious person to culture or the norm. Always. I always try to push the envelope.
Yeah, and I think at that young age, you probably were about 10 there. If you're approaching the deputy principal, who didn't even want you to see the principal, it was probably a little bit antagonist, if I could call it that, in the sense that they could see this kid, they know what you're asking for, not for the purposes of them not thinking about it before, because they obviously did.
Yeah.
The issue is, they're the ones that have to do the background work in order to get all of these things facilitated. And I'm sure we see that nowadays. We see it in government. We see it everywhere. There's an idea, but you actually bring it into formulation and get the systems behind it. People are not willing to do that work.
And absolutely. In actual fact, part of my reasoning when I went to the principal on all those activities, I said, although I didn't have any knowledge, quite honestly, it was just me reasoning. And today I can see the reasons. And I said, if you were to do this, do you know how many young children are not going to go? And I pointed, there's a place where people go and drink. I said, half of those people will not be going to drink alcohol if they knew there's something like this that they can utilize. But if you allow me just to move from there, because the question was, how did I come to become and to choose medicine? So it was only when I went to high school, I started saying, but it cannot be that we only just want to become nurses, policemen, and teachers. There must be something else. And there must be a way to attain that. And at school at that time, I was what we used to have positions, so I was always number one most of the time. And with that, I was like, it's going to go to waste if I just go and do what everyone else is doing. What is it that I can do that maybe some people in this community aren't doing? And naturally, I have an affinity to working with people and helping people. And medicine for me became the natural career that I gravitated towards.
Okay, so you made that decision organically. It wasn't like you want to become a principal, you started studying education and then you changed or something.
No.
And at end of matric, Form 5, you applied. You applied for medicine.
By the time I got to what was called Form 3, grade 8 today, I think I now knew that I wanted to become a medical doctor. Yeah. But that was through, it was through sheer checking and talking to people, looking at things.
Were there many doctors in the community that
None.
looked up? None.
But remember, that's what I'm saying. I always challenge the norms. I wanted to do something that nobody has done.
I love that.
Because I go like, if we've got plenty of policemen, we've got teachers, we've got everything. We don't have a doctor. Where is a doctor for us? In actual fact, during that time, for you to see a doctor, we only had what was called, I think, the district hospital. And you had to travel to get to that district hospital to see a doctor if you were lucky. Because you could go today and be in a queue for the whole day and still don't get to see a doctor. Then they put you maybe earlier for the following day. You come back again, sometimes up to 3 days before you could see a doctor. That's how bad. So I go like, where's the doctor? Where's the doctor? Maybe if we get more doctors, I could even have a doctor in the community, kind of a thing. Today, we still don't have a doctor in the community, but at least the access to health is way better. We have a clinic right in my village. A clinic, so you've got access to the nurses and to a particular level, and only when you've got complicated cases, then you would be referred to the hospital. But your primary health is actually done in the community. You don't have to travel. So I like that.
Before we move on to the medicine, and I want you to feel free to interject anytime. I've got plenty of time. If you've got other commitments afterwards, then so don't feel rushed. Please, I love the story about how you got your dad to quit smoking or think about quitting smoking. I love the story about how you pitched it to the deputy principal. You didn't just say you want this. You explained to him what the benefit will be.
Yeah.
You know, you're sort of like a storyteller. You narrate things and you can influence by explaining to people why you want what you want or you're looking for what you're looking for. It seems to be a common theme or thread in your personality.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say is, in my experience, outspoken kids in school often find themselves in trouble. I know because personally I was one of those. I mean, I ended up getting kicked out of class on one occasion in high school.
Yeah.
Do you have any stories like that, or?
So I never got kicked out of class, but I've been in trouble, but good trouble.
Right.
In actual fact, I was relating a story to a friend last week. I'll give you my troubles. My troubles, number one, was, again, in those days, I don't know how I think the teaching methodology has changed. We used to have a class. That's how some of the teachers used to do. They would come and give you on the green board, they would write copious notes. And you needed to take those notes down as they were. Then the following time, maybe another lecture or a period, it was called the period, they would come and teach you about those notes. So there was this teacher, and he was actually a relative. You would understand that in villages, you tend to have
good knowledge of everyone.
Deep roots.
Yeah. So in actual fact, he was an extended family member. He was teaching us biology, and he came and he did copious notes. We used to have 2 textbooks of biology, and I did not like his notes, not because I thought it was inferior, but purely because I felt it does not represent the way I'm understanding things, and it's going to be, I don't like to memorize. Maybe that's what, I did not like to memorize. I wanted to understand, and that's why I never liked agricultural science at the time, because I felt it was memory, and I hated, I must say that, hated history because it was memorizing dates and dead people, and I didn't like that. For no, if you memorize, like, maths, you memorize Pythagoras to understand, to apply, that I like. So this particular day he came and he was writing notes. And instead of writing his notes, I took the 2 textbooks and I was reading the chapter that he was dealing, and I would read this chapter and then I would make my own notes. And he saw that and he was not happy. He actually routed me out of class, and he says, "You are disrespectful. I will take you to the principal," and all this. So I went to him. I respected all my teachers. I really did. I never had an issue of disrespect. I went to him and I said, "Teacher, he's passed away now recently. I think it's about 4 years that he's passed away." I went to him and I said, "It's not that I'm disrespecting you. I'm actually trying to increase my chances of understanding and of passing this course. So, before you take me to the principal, can we have an agreement? Allow me to do this until the first test. If I get less than 85%, I promise you that weekend I will go and copy every note that you have given to the students. I promise you that. And he agreed because he never believed that I could achieve. So he says, okay, I'll give you that chance. I then wrote the first test. I remember I was so nervous. You know, even sometimes when you believe you've done the right thing, you don't know. I was so nervous. When he brought the books, we used to write in the books and give it to the, and he came back with the books and he put my book as the last one when he was giving the marks, and people were getting, there were those that failed, there were those that got average marks. I remember the highest mark at that time was 85%. And he spoke very well about the person who got 85% before he could come to me. Then he told the student, he never told them of our agreement, but he says, the last student that I want to talk about is the student that thought he was clever. Mm. And that time when you start like that, you're going to go, oh.
It's downhill. It sounds like
how did I miss this? In my heart, I thought, in my mind, I thought I have passed this. But look, I mean, with biology, sometimes, they do whatever they do, the teachers. So, and he says, then he told them the agreement that in actual fact, after that whole fight that I had with him that day, this is what happened. So he told them about the agreement. So today is a day of reckoning. And he says to the students, do you think he has surpassed the 85% mark that this student has surpassed that I've just spoken about? And there were few that says, absolutely, they knew me. Absolutely. And there was those that says, no, maybe same. And some says, no, he did not because he didn't take your notes. And then he then took, and he says, I want to tell you that the student has proven me wrong. He got 98%. Oh, wow. In actual fact, if I was allowed, I would have given him 120% out of 100 because he did more than what I thought he could do. But I got 98. And he says, from today, I will not bother you. That's it. So, and then, of course, the normal things, because I stayed far, there were times that I got late to school. And there was this principal, very strict principal. Our schoolyard was fenced. You couldn't go through anywhere except the gate. Because they knew that I was excelling in every subject that I took, even the ones that I hated. I did geography. I kind of liked geography, but I didn't see how I was going to use geography in my life. I was never looking to become a pilot or anything. But anyway, I passed well. And the principal knew that. So he used to, if you are late, they close the gate at a particular time and they would go to what they called an assembly point and they would do the prayers and everything. After that, the principal himself will take a shambok and go and wait at the gate for those that came late and he would shambok you.
Just explain for some of the international viewers what a shambok is.
A shambok is
punishment.
Yeah, it's basically corporal punishment, which has been disallowed. It's not happening in South Africa, but during our time, it was allowed. Yeah. The principal, meted out corporal punishment at that time. But this is what happened. Very nice, which I like.
Wait, what's a shambok? What is a shambok for all international listeners?
Well, the shambok is basically, how can I call it? It's made out of two things. It's the ones that he used to use was made out of a hippo
tail,
not tail. Yeah. It was the hide of a hippo. So you carve it, and it's a little. The base it's a little bit thicker for you to hold, and it becomes thinner and thinner all the way, so that it is easy to hit. It's got a warp effect. Yeah. You can either have that, or you can have one that is made out of a plastic.
Yes,
but he used that one. So that's what happened. So this is what happened. If I'm late, I had to go to school. I would be walking there, and he would be hitting people with this shambok of his. And The moment he sees me, maybe like 100 meters, he would walk away from the gate to allow me to go in. And whoever is around me to go in. Once I pass, he goes back there and hits everyone else behind me. Because he
Sounds
said
like
to
favoritism.
me, no, not really. He said to me, you know what? You are late, but I know that you're not a naughty student because you're always on top of class and you don't do any funny things. You study. I started when I'm talking now in secondary school, by the way. This is what I'm talking in secondary school. I started a study club at secondary school. I went to him and our maths teacher. We asked our maths teacher, because we were struggling with maths, to have extra classes. We demanded that. I was the leader of that group. But beyond that, we ourselves, we agreed that after school, I think our school, the classes would end around 2 o'clock. I can't remember. But we would then say for 2 hours, we stayed behind and taught each other the difficult subjects and also studied, because we knew there are people that when they get home, they don't have a place to sit. You don't have a desk. You sit, you study lying down on a mat. And if it's at night, you don't even have lighting. I used to use a lantern and a candle. And sometimes you didn't have a candle. So whilst other people were studying, you couldn't study even if you wanted to study because you didn't have a candle. Or maybe your parents would say, we need to switch off the lantern at a particular time because the paraffin would finish.
Yeah.
So I insisted. I said, you know what, guys? The best way is let's help each other. We would help each other. Let's say maths in particular, because maths seemed to be an issue in our time or in my class. So we would help each other. We would do the books. Those times they had exercises at the end, and they had memos. We would then take those. We said, we're studying this chapter today. We're studying this chapter tomorrow, whatever the case may be, and we will do these exercises. Where we struggle with a concept or where we can't get the answer that is given by the memorandum, we will then go and get the teacher to say, can you help us with this? So the principal knew that I was doing all of these things. And I was actually producing, because when it comes to maths, I was a good student. I was a top student. When it came to physical science, although I had to imagine things, I was a top student. So he felt that it was not necessary for him to actually punish me if I came a bit late.
I would have actually given you the shambok just to make an example, because it sounds like you're like a repeat offender.
Yeah.
You are late often.
But also remember, he knew that I was not coming from close by.
Circumstance.
He knew that I did not always have access to money to use the bus. I think he understood that kind of environment.
Okay.
And he says, if I understand the environment, this student is still coming. He never misses school. I'm there at school every day. And even after the formal classroom periods, the student took a decision to stay and work and actually brought other students to help other students. I think that was his way of thinking.
Yeah.
That's what he told me.
I like how he did it though. He walked away to, I don't know, create a little bit of ignorance around it, so it doesn't seem like favoritism.
And absolutely, he would go and pretend like I was doing something else, and
KC, can I ask this for context for our listeners as well?
Yes.
What period? What sort of what year was this?
Age-wise?
No, like as in...
Oh, yeah, that's a long time ago. So that would have been, so if I graduated or I finished my high school around 1991. So just about 7 years.
Okay.
Well, so not 7 years, but
late.
Like 5 years leading to
mid-80s.
Yeah. So let's say 85, 86 onwards. Yeah.
It might sound like a weird question, but why did you do all this? Like, why did you feel you needed to, work hard and try and bring others with you? I'm thinking of my high school days. We were just interested in having fun, playing sport, and we weren't thinking, let's.
I was driven. Now, I don't know whether the drive was about changing the story narrative of my family or the story narrative of my family intertwined with the story narrative of the village.
Okay.
I think it was actually both.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at my dad, and yes, he was working a good job for that period, but nothing really that you could say was a professional job. Okay? Nothing that you could say was a professional job. And I never wanted a situation where sometimes I hear that I am not employed because my skill is just not really professional enough. So I always wanted something that I can really help change the narrative. Also, if I remember something that was so strong in my mind, I'm firstborn at home.
Okay.
And I wanted to be an example to my siblings. I've got 3 siblings. In actual fact, we're 5, and my younger sister passed away when we're still young. So we're 4. It's myself and 2 boys after me, and the last born is a girl. And I felt I always had this thing of saying, whatever I do, conduct-wise, character-wise, career-wise, I needed to be an example.
Mm.
But also, hence I'm saying it's intertwined. I look at how my parents sacrifice a lot of things. My mom sacrificed a lot of things to get me to get us to school, to all of those things. And I never wanted a situation where she could look back and say, I've put so much in you guys and you've disappointed me. I never wanted to disappoint my parents. So I think those 2 things, or those 4 things I've just said now, being an example to my siblings, not disappointing my parents, changing the story narrative of my family and of the community. I think those were my driving forces.
Family and community, big part in your life.
Yeah.
Okay, so then medicine, how does it happen? You apply everywhere. Can you apply everywhere at that stage? Or?
No. You couldn't apply everywhere. There were certain universities. We were told that as a black person in South Africa, you're most likely not to get.
Okay.
At that time, there was Medunsa, and Medunsa was the most likely, I don't know how I was wired, was the most likely university that if you wanted to do medicine, you could get in easier, because it was supposed to take as many black or African or people of color to the health faculty.
Why do you laugh and say you don't know how you were wired? Because
that's what, even when I applied, my maths teacher, who I was fond of, those days you had to go and get your teacher to sign something.
Okay.
You need to get a letter. It was called a letter of some sort of a referral letter.
Not like commendation or something.
Yes.
Okay.
So you had to, and so he said, "Where did you apply?" And I told him where I applied. He said, so this is what happened. I applied at VETS, I applied at KZN, and I applied at UCT. I didn't apply at Medunsa, because everyone was going to Medunsa.
So he was like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yes. It says, you are not going to get to all of these universities. The 2 universities you've applied for, VETS and UCT, is mostly white.
Yeah. You're a black guy. You're not going to get in.
KZN, maybe, but it's too far. Which I understood. He says, you're going too far. I've never, by the time, I had not even gotten out of Limpopo. I had not even gotten to Johannesburg. Now I want to travel 800 to 900 kilometers to go and study. 1,800, which is UCT, to go and study. I've never been alone.
If you get in, that is, yeah.
Yes. So I didn't apply it at Medunsa.
What is wrong with you? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he said, please apply at Medunsa because you're going to get disappointed. I didn't apply. So luckily, I got accepted at VETS.
Oh, so you didn't take his advice?
No, I didn't.
Okay, yeah.
I got admitted at VETS, and I got admitted at UCT. I don't remember exactly my reasons as to why I went to UCT, to be honest. I don't remember. But it just sounded right.
Okay. Cape Town. Yeah.
I didn't know Cape Town. Yeah. I didn't even know about the ranking of universities. For me, it was not even that. But Cape Town just sounded fine.
Okay.
For me. I didn't care the fact that I was going to go to a place that is far away from my family. I didn't care about the fact that I was going to be alone, where my family, even my dad, has never been to Cape Town, for heaven's sake.
And I think you said you didn't like geography, but if you had to think about it, Cape Town and Limpopo are the furthest possible places in South Africa you can get.
Absolutely. If you look at, in science, the distal position,
that diagonal,
it is the longest.
Yes. I'm glad you're geographic.
Yak to geography. That's
I love geography.
I enjoyed it. I hated history. Geography I did because I had to have my 7th subject. But it's not something that I was passionate about. Really, I wasn't. So and then I ended up at UCT.
Okay, so then what? You just pack your bags and go? How does it work?
Yeah, I packed my bags. My dad was here in Benoni, Davidton, at the time because he was working for the railway as a ticket examiner. You know, those people that just clip your tickets.
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
So in trains those days, you bought a ticket, the card.
Right.
And when you get in, so those tickets, you either bought a ticket for a day or a week or a month. And a whole punch indicated that you've used one travel.
Okay.
And if it's a week, they will have to have, if it's a week ticket, you'll have about 10,
okay.
Then it's expired. So that's what you used to do. You would get into the train when you get in, or when you are going to the train, there was a place where you went through like a turnstile kind of a thing, and you had to get your tickets punched, and that's what you used to do.
Okay.
So I came here and I told him, and he even says, "Are you crazy? I don't even know where Cape Town is." I said, "Dad, let it be." And I remember he took me to Johannesburg Park Station. I took a train, my first long distance train to Cape Town. I had been in a train before, so we used to have a train that from Johannesburg to Louis Trichardt, which is Mercado now. So that was my reference to a train where I traveled with my parents. But this time I had to take the train by myself. I did not even know where on earth I'm going. Took that train. My dad took me there, and we bought the tickets, and I went, and I got to Cape Town. Just for your purpose, the day I got to Cape Town, it was the day Mandela was released.
Wow. Yeah.
He was actually, the day that he went to there in Cape Town, he had to address the crowd. I remember when we were coming to Cape Town, I forgot about that part of history because now I'm just thinking about going to school. And the trains were full. There were buses. It was bustling. I think it was a Saturday or a Sunday. I can't remember exactly. But then, as I was speaking to people, said, Mandela is coming to address the people today. Blah, 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 blah. He's leaving Palsmore prison and all of that. It was that day. When I got to Cape Town, I had to ask, I says, where is UCT? Where do I get transport to UCT? At that time, they said we must go to a residence called Marquardt. Everyone that was coming in was going to the same residence. And I met some people that were going to UCT as well. So, started making friends. And that's how I got to UCT.
We take it for granted, right, Yak? There were no cell phones or anything in those days.
No.
You go into a train. How long do you sleep over on the train?
27 hours.
27 hours. You're half asleep. You get out there and you got to just figure it out. You can't go on Google and say,
no.
You got to speak to people. And you're from the village, right? You're the guy from the village.
And you can't even speak to your parents or anyone else.
Yeah, you can't tell them I'm safe. They don't know if you're safe or if you've made it or what.
Guys, my first communication with my parents when I got there was to write them a letter. It sounds very archaic, but
so cool.
I had to write them a letter. That's the first thing that I did. So, but the letter was, I did a telegram.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know what a telegram
Please
is?
Tell us. Look, I've heard of telegram. I know the concept. It's a telegram, but I don't know the mechanics.
Is it not? It's not physically transported, the letter. It's like transcribed.
Let the man tell us. We don't know.
Oh, there was a question.
So yeah, no, that's correct. So a telegram is actually, it was the quickest WhatsApp at that time.
Fax machine, yeah.
But that went through the post office.
Yeah.
But you are right. So at the beginning, there were telegrams that you wrote and it was fast track to get to the destination. But in this case, during my time, you went and dictated the telegram to someone at the post office.
Not awkward at all.
Who either can't remember the modalities, but they would transfer that to the post office in your village or closest to your village. And then they will send a message to your family to say there's a telegram to come and fetch.
Go to the wow.
Yes, that's how it was.
And is it free or do you have to pay for it?
Yeah.
Pay?
Yeah.
And then where are you getting money
per
from?
word.
Wait, hold on. We didn't touch on this. I never thought about it.
Yeah.
Your dad is, what's his role?
Ticket examiner.
So,
which was not a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So where's he? Who's funding this?
Okay. So.
Oh, wait, were you a top student?
No. But no, it's important.
Yeah.
Because even if you're a top student, you have to still get yourself to the university before anything happens.
Yes.
I actually went to UCT without a confirmation of any sponsorship. My dad gave me 100 Rand besides the payment of the, what do you call it? Payments of the
registration.
No. The payments of the train. My pocket money was 100 Rand. 100 Rand to go to UCT. So I used part of that 100 Rand. It was not that, 100 Rand went far that time. I used part of that 100 Rand to actually pay for my telegram. But also during that time there was what do you call it? Public phones, the telecom public phones. If you remember, some were red.
Box, yeah.
Yes, some were red, and some became green, then became blue. The last ones were blue. So after a while, I had to give him a closest telephone. So that whole story. Then you had to know more or less what time you're gonna phone. Around 3 o'clock, and you close by, so that if they phoned and someone picks up and says, "Hello, who's this? I'm looking for KC Makhubele. KC, are you around?" And you run there and you take the phone.
Wow. What a different time.
I know. What a different time. And there's so many variables that could go wrong. Someone else could have been on the phone. It could be raining that day.
If someone is on the phone, it doesn't ring. So whoever's on the other side must keep on trying until they get an open space.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, if it's a specific time that you could then have an agreement with the people that are around the phone to say, "Can I please ask that at 3 o'clock we don't use this phone? I'm expecting a call." Now, really, that's how it was. That was when I arrived. And of course, at UCT, luckily, we also had reception areas which had phones. So those phones you could give to your family. And they could phone directly to reception, and they would then phone you from your room. They would intercom to say, "Casey, you've got a call at reception," and then you would run down. But that was after the school was open. But before that, I had to find a way.
Yeah. So can you tell us more about that journey? I'm interested in this angle now because we had a previous guest on the show, also a doctor that studied, and but he just also got to university.
He was in university. He told us a story about the time when Mandela was being released also, and they were on the streets and they were all celebrating.
Who was this doctor?
Dr. Niraj Mistry, but he was at Wits.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so my question is, how was it at that time? Because if I'm being comparative, he was already in the system. So he had friends that were white and of color. And then 94 came about. Yes. You got there in 94.
Well, yeah.
So and at Wits, and at UCT, which in my mind I'm thinking this is like the Billabong of South Africa. It's very white.
No, so it was not 94 when I got to UCT. It must have been 91 or something. 91.
Oh, okay. So it was
1994 was the first election.
The election.
So it was around then. I think 91. Yeah. I think I got to UCT in 91. Yeah, somewhere there.
So that must have been an extra challenge because now here's this black student coming into UCT to start his academic career, but then environmentally now all of this other stuff is going on where there's more hatred towards people of color because of the standing that we were in at that stage.
So funny enough, I must say that for me, UCT, I never really felt a serious disadvantage in terms of color. I think UCT was possibly, in hindsight, one of the most liberal of the time university. Because I had friends at Wits, I had friends at Stellenbosch. Definitely Stellenbosch was not for us at that time. And at Wits, people of color, they struggled during that time. UCT was actually liberal in comparison. So I never felt that. But I arrived there, as you say, I did not know anyone. I arrived there. I had no confirmation of my sponsorship. I just took. I knew I was accepted, but I had no sponsorship. The first week I had to go to the student office to go and check if there is any of my applications for bursary have been accepted. And luckily I was accepted for one particular bursary. So that meant I could now start with the registration process. But here's the thing. I got there. I didn't know people. And because I was considered a clever student, UCT had a class, which I don't like. They actually classified students, literally. When you ask for a residential, whatever accommodation that is controlled by UCT, they classify. It was an open policy. They classified you. Now there was, I don't know now. There was what names they are, but there was 2 residents that were in upper campus. It was called Jan Smuts campus for men. Exactly replica on the other side. It was called Fuller.
Yeah.
Only clever students stayed there, and only students who had families that had stayed there before can actually stay there. So now, if you are white, you probably have someone that has stayed there. If you are black, you need to show that you are a clever student. I was considered a clever student at the time, so I was actually offered accommodation at Fuller. And if you say to anyone at that time that you are from Fuller, they will say, oh, clever ones, because not anyone got in there. And it was there I formed a friendship with someone called Nicholas Lotz, a white guy.
Nicholas Lotz.
Nicholas Lotz.
Okay.
We're still friends today.
He's a doctor now.
No, he was not in medicine.
Oh, okay.
He was not in medicine. He actually went into education. I became friends with him. How did I become friends with him? I think we were allocated the rooms, were next to each other. And that's how I got to know Nicholas. So I became friends, and I started making friendship. That's how it happens.
Was he your first white friend? No, you met white.
No. No. I think he was actually my first proper white friend. I didn't have a white friend. Remember, I come from a rural area. There's no white people.
Were there any white people in the village?
That's why I ask.
The white people were in a place called Giyani Krematati. And again, it was an enclave that was made for white people. Not enough black people were allowed there, but I had nothing to do with it. So no, I didn't have. Nicholas Loss was actually my first friend. My very first white friend.
Shout out to Nicholas.
Yes. And we're still friends today. We're still good friends today. Yeah.
So tell us now, Fuller, how is it? UCT. I've heard of Fuller, I've heard of Smuts. They call it Smuts Hall or something like that.
Yes.
And I only know this because once or twice while we were in campus, I studied at Pretoria.
Yeah.
We would go to my wife's friends who studied in Cape Town just to have a little bit of a holiday.
Yeah.
And it was so unfair how beautiful that campus is, how everything just looks so lovely, the view, the history. So tell us about UCT and how it was.
It was beautiful, guys. It was beautiful. Look, so I've got insomnia. So just the first thing that I struggled with in my first month was that the room that they offered me was alongside the road, and traffic started running there around 3:00. And traffic finished around 11:00 because everyone coming from the main campus, from the library, from everywhere else, they were driving on that road, and I could not sleep. I struggled to sleep the first month. I went to the seniors of the resident to say, I would like to swap. I need something in this wing. So Smuts has got 4 wings. You've got the entrance side, you've got the one next to the main road, this side and this side. So I had to look for one that was better. So they finally moved me. So, but other than that, I met a lady from Giyani who was Tsonga, and I naturally gravitated to her as well. Her friends became my friends, and I met.
What was she doing there?
She was doing social work.
Okay.
She was doing social work. beautiful lady. I don't know where she is now today.
Oh. If you're out there.
I was not there at that time, but I really liked her. And of course, I made friends within the fuller space. The young smarts, the smarts space. And then I'm a Christian. Again, leadership just seems to be given to me on the platter. I attended a student organization at that time. And when I went there, they had the leadership and everything was good. But I think it was within a year. Okay, I obviously made friends, but within a year, I was the leader of that organization. I was a leader until I left UCT. So I made quite a lot of friends out of the organization itself, and I met some friends in my faculty and the class that I was in. So UCT was actually fun. I may have overextended my participation in leadership. So I was a Christian, this organization, it was called African Student Christian Forum at the time. Now it's called Student Christian Forum. And you'll understand why the African was there during that time. I then, so I was the leader there. And then I was the second highest person in terms of what we call I can't remember what it was called, the residence committee.
Oh, the house committee.
Yeah. And then I became the leader.
Oh, okay.
There was a guy who was Leshias Nube from Zim. Yeah. He was the leader, and I was second. And after that, I became the leader. Yeah. And then I became the chairperson of what they call the disciplinary committee.
Okay, yeah.
In the house com.
DC. Yeah. That's where you probably see the likes of Yak and company for...
Yeah. No, I had to deal with. I was just, and then I was a mentor as well for the first years, in my second year, all of those things. So, and I think I kind of overextended myself there a bit.
Okay.
Because I then struggled. I could tell that my studying, I had to put more effort. Yeah. So, but other than that, it was a beautiful stay at UCT. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I finally moved from Smarts because of it was not called Jan Smart, it was Smarts. Smarts. I moved from Smarts, but it was from Jan Smart. I moved from Smarts and I went to a residence called Varietas, which was just slightly closer to the medical campus. It was a walking distance to the medical campus.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's where I was a house committee. I was this and this and this. But I enjoyed it so much during the time. UCT was good.
It's interesting. It seems like even you're only interested in the leadership aspect of it because we haven't even touched on the medicine yet.
Yeah.
What was happening there?
I loved medicine.
Yeah.
When I realized that I couldn't go back after a year that I had taken a gap to sort some challenges that I would rather not discuss, that time, I cried. My heart was so sore that year that I couldn't go back to UCT. And the following year, when I realized that I possibly will never go back to UCT, I cried. I think for a good 5, even to 10 years, my heart was sore that I couldn't complete medicine. To a level that one time, after starting working, I got like, should I just go and complete medicine, even if I don't practice medicine? Just to complete my dream. Because I really wanted to be, even today, I think in me, if I were to be given another opportunity and maybe extra years, or maybe they take a few years off my life, I would go and do medicine. That is definitely something I would call it a calling. I really think medicine for me was a calling. I've done every other thing, but medicine, and it still calls me today. It still calls me today. If I were to travel, and I see an accident, people on the road, dying people, I don't know. I gravitate towards, I wish I can go there and help. I want to go and help. I know I cannot help. I'm not a medical person anymore. I'm not a qualified person. I can't do. But I honestly gravitate towards, I wish I can actually go and help.
So you were there for how many years?
3 years.
3 years?
3 years.
And it wasn't like it was circumstances that led you away from it. It wasn't like I'm not trying to probe. I'm not trying to probe, but it's not like by choice you left.
No,
yeah,
I didn't decide I don't like medicine anymore or anything like that. It was exactly that. Circumstances, things happened, and I couldn't go back. Afterwards, even though I thought I was going to go back, I couldn't go back to UCT.
So what's stopping you right now? If you had to go back into medicine, let's say they're like, KC, we want you. Come and join us at UCT.
So two things: responsibilities. I can't. But also, I asked myself, going to spend 7 years in medicine, which is actually I think it's now 9 years because of you do the they start with the 2 years of internship, and then you do, so it's about 8 years, or depending on where you are, 8 years or 9 years. When I finish, how much of me is left to actually add value to the community? I don't think it's worth it. But hence I say, if there was a way that someone could take years out of my age, give it back to me, I would go and do medicine.
Okay, so it's actually quite a sad departure from medicine. When at the beginning, when I introduced it and I mentioned university dropouts becoming greats, those ones like the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, they drop out because they want to, deliberately.
For me, it was not.
Okay. You've always had your calling in medicine.
I still feel that is, when I die, that's one area I would feel that I did not achieve, and I wish I had achieved. Even if I had just achieved to get the degree and then stayed in the broader spectrum of health in leadership roles to push medicine forward, I would have been happier.
Now, I think you should do it, not for the purposes of the community, but for yourself.
Time, money, responsibilities, it's a bit complicated, but absolutely.
Yeah, KC knows better. KC knows better. KC knows better now. When you read about these things, what's going on in healthcare, especially in the medical side of things. Well, I don't want to say you, I say me. I ask myself, who would actually want to become a doctor now if they read everything that's being published and been spoken about in the press and the media? Right?
And also, remember, and that's one thing, in a way, I comfort myself with. Medicine, same as dentistry, since we're in dentistry, is that you selling your hours. Medicine or the health sector, it's not the same as the Zuckerberg of this world, the Elon Musk of this world, who create a product and it then churns money and they can do other things. You need to be there. In actual fact, the more you specialize, the more every second of your time is needed for you to actually continue with the job that you do.
Can I say how I tell it to some of my guests?
Yeah.
I feel like if you become a healthcare practitioner, right? Doctor, dentist, whatever.
Yeah.
You can change your patient's world, right? One patient at a time. But you can't really change the world. It's just not scalable in that sense.
Yes.
And that's why I disagree with you. I would not encourage you to do the medicine, because you, in your position or wherever you're going to be, you can change a lot more people's world at one time.
And I must tell you this. I must be honest that when I was approached, I didn't apply for the role at SADA, but I was approached by a recruitment agency that they had retained at the time. And I remember going to SADA, and I don't know if you guys have been there before, but I remember arriving there. I came from a corporate environment. I was at the time a marketing executive and a stakeholder executive for a big firm in South Africa. And I came from where, like this kind of setup where the desks are good, this and this. I remember going to the interview. Before the interview, I remember going to SADA for something and to look at the space. Oh my goodness. I got into the boardroom and the desks were all different in color and the desks were all different in sizes. And the chairs, you had green chairs, black chairs, blue chairs, and plastic chairs in one room.
It sounds synonymous with dentists. Did any of them recline by any chance?
But I'm saying that I didn't like that idea. However, I really felt so much at home and blessed that they offered me the job. Because I felt I was closer to my dream. I said, this is closer to my dream. I may not live my full dream, but this is definitely closer to my dream. Here I'm back in health, dentistry. And it was the best marriage for me.
It aligns with your purpose.
100%. Yeah. So I'm comfortable that I may not have become a medical doctor, but I'm definitely making impact from where I am. And that's why I told even the current board, I said, guys, this is not just for money for me. It's not about money. This is about my calling. I told him, this, I live for this, guys. I really live for this. It's like I wake up, I drink, I breathe, I dream dentistry, management or leadership. It will be crazy if I were to tell you this, because I'm sure maybe it doesn't happen to other people. And I'm being vulnerable here. I sometimes wake up in the morning and I'm like, hey, I was actually dreaming, doing something. And then, like literally, there was a dream, me doing something, me speaking to the minister, and I had a heated exchange with the minister of the Department of Health about why they are doing this to dentistry and this and this and this.
This actually happened, am I correct?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. I'm being vulnerable. I don't think I've ever told people this, but I've had dreams, like real dreams, where I wake up and I thought it was real, but actually it was a dream.
You live, breathe, and you sleep dentistry. I want to pause before we get into SADA, because how did you, and please, you can feel free to skim through it, or if you want to go into detail, I'm happy with it. I've got time.
Yeah.
From dropping out of med school to becoming the chief executive officer of SADA, how does that happen?
Okay. So I'm going to start from the beginning, from the end.
Whatever you want.
I never applied for this role. I did not even know that SADA exists. I knew about SAMA because as a medical student, you became
registered automatically.
Registered. Yeah. With SAMA, you became registered automatically, which by the way was not the case with SADA until I arrived. And I'm like, why are we not doing the same thing as what SAMA is doing? And that's why we're now starting to register students. So I was busy with my own thing. My company was earmarking me for a higher position at the group level. So I was working for 3 divisions. As that, and today you can call it the chief executive marketing, okay,
or chief marketing officer or something like that.
Not
really.
You could
CMO or whatever.
Yes.
C-suite. You were C-suite. Yeah,
that's what I was.
Yeah,
but now I was actually being trajected towards the group level.
Oh,
so when I got contacted by this lady, and she says, please call me. I want to chat to you about a possibility or an opportunity. I contacted her out of courtesy. And she spoke to me. I remember that time we were at Mount Grace somewhere towards Rustenburg doing something for my company. I spoke to her during lunchtime, and she then sent me a link. Says, I read about SADA. I'm like, this is too little for me. This is too down there. I'm going to get bored. I get very bored easily. I like complex and complicated and sophisticated problems to deal with. I don't like easy stuff. Honestly, I don't. So I read about it, and at that time, the SADA website was not great. If you put SADA in Google, which I did, so see now, moving from Telegram to now, I could now do Google.
When was this around?
2016. 2016. Okay. Exactly 2016. I put SADA. I could not find SADA on the first 10 pages of Google. Couldn't.
The SEO was not there. Search engine optimization.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. I couldn't get SADA. I can't remember what page it was. Even when you got there, the information was very scanty. I honestly did not fully understand what SADA does. I had to speak to people. And basically the best explanation was they do what SAMA does. And I did not like that.
Yeah.
We should not, once an organization is described by describing another organization, it's not good brand-wise. It shouldn't be. You should be the other one. But anyway, I looked at it and said, okay. So I called back the lady and I said to her, I've read about SADA. Unless if you can tell me something else, I think I'm going to get bored because I don't think they've got any issues. I'm not interested. She asked me for a meeting. I remember we had a tea meeting at Hyde Park. That time, remember, I'm going there with an understanding that I'm not interested. This is a very small organization.
Not stimulating. Yeah.
That time, just to give you an example, that time, people under me, specifically under me, employees were about 15,000. That time,
the marketing.
Yeah. Yes. So as a marketing, I also looked after branches. Yeah. But just that, the marketing team was small, but I also looked after branches. That time, I think the organization that I was looking after was doing 1.5 billion, 1.2 to 1.5, no, yes, between 1.2 and 1.6 billion turnover. Okay? That's where I come from. Then I come to SADA. I'm looking at SADA. I looked at the income statements that time, which after I got, or I couldn't get it. Then I asked the company. They gave me, Pangach was there. They gave me the information through the recruitment of a lady. I looked at what the organization was doing. Really, it was, just to give an example, what SADA's income was at that time. Was less than my marketing expenditure portfolio. What I needed to spend was the total income of SADA was less than that. Now you understand now, I had to adjust. So anyway, I sat with her. Only after sitting with her, she told me this and that and this and that. Then my eyes were like, okay, there seems to be a lot of work to be done here. That's the only time, and also because now it's in health, I said, okay, if I can satisfy the sophistication of my role, and it's in dentistry, and dentistry is in health, then combine this, then it's fine. That's when I made a decision when I was at Hyde Park. I said, you know what? Let's go for it. And I actually then decided to accept the invitation to do an interview, which I did. Went for an interview. I remember that day I was sick. I had flu. I really was sick. The board was there to interview me. I went in and I interviewed. I was number 4. I think they had 5 candidates and I was number 4. And I went for an interview. After the interview, I left. I felt I explained myself. I explained what I want. Dr. Solomons was there. I can't remember if Dr. Vermeulen was there. Dr. Wertheimer was there. There was Dr. Nyatsumba was there. A couple of people. So I can't remember if Dr. Erasmus was there, but there were a couple of people. So I left, but it didn't take long. I knew before I got home that the board was gravitating towards me. They were very impressed.
Okay.
They were very impressed. I didn't know why at the time, but they were very impressed because I spoke the language and I seemed to be entrepreneurial and I seemed to be a visionary, which I am. All of those things seems to have attracted them to me. Yeah. And that's how everything else was history. Within, I think I interviewed on a Friday. Can't remember the date, but I think it was on a Friday because I was going to Durban on leave. On Wednesday, they'd already sent me an offer. Looked at the offer. I was not happy with the offer in terms of salary, but I counted what I discussed with the recruitment lady in terms of the sophistication of what I could do. I think that's what sold me, what I could do and what she thought the challenges were, as well as the fact that it was in health. And I decided, I actually took a cut, a substantial cut to come to SADA. Took a cut. But I'm not regretting that I took a cut. I came in, I thought it was aligned even more to what I was doing. So yes, that's exactly what happened.
So those names that you mentioned on the interview committee, Yak, we must get them all one by one on this show and ask them about...
They were part of the board.
It was the board.
Ask them what they saw in Mr. Makhubele.
It was the board.
And you quite humbly said you don't know what they saw, but I think you answered it afterwards. All those things is what they saw, clearly.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what made them headhunt you? Because obviously you would have been at previous organizations, right?
So the lady that headhunted me, she told me, because I did ask her, so why me?
Yeah.
And even that time when she told me there were 5 candidates, I say, okay, when you were looking for people, what were you looking for specifically? And why did you include me amongst the 5? Do I have a chance here? And she says, SADA requires a good stakeholder person. SADA requires a visionary person. SADA requires someone that has got that they should not necessarily be in actual fact, they had made a choice. They don't want a dentist, but someone that has got a good management and future thinking. And because of your dabbling in health as at toUCT, we felt that you're a good fit because you may not be practicing medicine, but you have an idea of what medicine and health and the health is in the country. And that is what made her to look for me.
The funny thing is, all those qualities that you described in your it made me think about your school days.
Yeah.
Like those qualities you were showing from then.
Yeah.
Forward thinking, stakeholder engagement. We didn't mention this, but you're a negotiator also, because you were talking about when did you negotiate? You negotiated something in childhood. With the deputy principal.
And then the principal,
and community driven, all those things from childhood. It's quite interesting. Okay, cool. What's a day in the life of a CEO at South African Dental Association? What's that like?
So I always tell people that when it comes to this, I have to, and hear me out in an easy manner, I have to put myself in a dentist's shoes and say, if you guys were feeling the pain, or the dentists were feeling the pain that they feel, or they're facing the challenges that they face, if they had the capacity, which they don't have, if they had the capacity to, in a day, to also do work that will make their life easy, what is it that they will be doing? That's for me the most important thing. So I wake up in a day and I'll say, what is it that is happening today in terms of helping my members, the members of the South African Dental Association? As of today, what is it that I should be doing to help them tomorrow? What should I be doing to help them the day after tomorrow? And I must tell you, I spend a lot of time personally thinking about tomorrow as well as the day after tomorrow, because dentistry is a dynamic career. It's a dynamic profession. And if we do not plan for tomorrow, if we do not plan for the day after tomorrow, and while we are dealing with this today, when I see my members and myself as a leader in this industry, we will be blamed by those that come after us in the future, saying, why did you not do this? Why did you not foresee this? Why did you not think about this? Why did you not prepare for this? And that's really where I spend my time. The daily activities, yes, happen, but that's where I spend my time. And that's why you'll see me, I will speak about, let me use what we're currently thinking now, the board thinking, how do we work around and within the current regulations to make sure that dentistry is not as expensive as it is? Because dentistry is expensive. To practice as a dentist in this country is 1,000 times more expensive than to practice as a medical doctor. I've got good friends in medicine as well. And I always say this when I'm in a discussion with them, whether casually or anywhere. I've been invited to speak to medical doctors at times. And I say, if I were to compare dentistry and I were to compare medicine, when you want to be a private practitioner in medicine. All you need is a space with a bed and a stethoscope.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. That's it. You don't have to have anything else. Really, you don't have to have anything else. You can send people to go, like, I don't have an x-ray machine. Go down to, here's a piece of paper, go to here and go and do x-ray. Go and do this, go and do this. Go and take blood at the laboratory, and here's the form. Come back. Then I will diagnose you, I will treat you, blah, 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 blah. In dentistry, you can't necessarily do that. There are ways that I'm thinking of alleviating that going forward, but you can't do that. You need a fully fledged, when I come to you as a dental patient, you must do all of those things in one space.
Mm.
When I live here.
At the same time.
At the same time. When I live here and I go out, it must have been done. You cannot be sending me, currently, you can't send me somewhere else. And I mean, maybe towards the end, I will talk slightly about this, because I really believe that is an area that we need to open our mind towards. How do we alleviate? The x-ray machines, all of the machines, basically, let me put this, the machines that you have to set up in a dental practice, they cost a lot of money. There's basically nothing, even if you go to the smallest, there's basically nothing below 300,000. Really, in reality, including your instruments that are very expensive. Instruments, then material. On top of that, this is my opinion and my educated opinion based on what I see. The regulations in South Africa are more heavier to dentistry. Because of the same equipment now, your x-ray needs to go through this.
SAPRA.
This and that and that. And that is not also free. You're getting someone to come and look after your machine, certify your machine at a cost. Then they must maintain that machine at a cost. On top of the cost of buying that machine.
KC, there's some WhatsApp groups that I'm on, right?
Yeah.
It's full of dentists, right?
Yeah.
And I always take a step back and I ask myself, and I think to myself, if I was a high school student in this WhatsApp group reading all the stuff that's going on, all the difficulties that dentists are facing, I say to myself, I would never even want to think of a career in dentistry. Because, and this is the thing, with that, people don't, the general public won't always know about it, right? They just see dentists as really expensive, painful. I don't want to go there. Yeah. They're charging me. They're making big bucks. And, dentists are facing a lot of difficulties, right? And it just got me thinking, firstly, you probably know more dentists than anybody else in this country.
Possibly.
Like, personally.
Yes.
So you probably know hundreds and you've forgotten them and they know you, but you don't know them.
Yeah.
What keeps you up at night, apart from nightmares of fighting with the Minister of Health? Like, what keeps you up at night? What are your challenges? Right?
But before you answer that, I just wanted to touch back quickly on what you were saying about how we need to do what's right now in our profession so the future generations don't blame us.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of the story that my friend told me. I'll tell you quickly, if I remember it correctly.
You don't have to be quick.
There was a company, right? It was doing very, very well, but then it started declining a little bit. So the board decided they're going to appoint a new CEO. So the new CEO came in and at his welcoming meeting, the old CEO was there. So they both started chatting, and then the new CEO asked the old CEO, if I have any difficulty, can I ask you? So time went by. The new CEO did a fantastic job, turned the company around. They were seeing, good reports. And then all of a sudden, things started to tank. So he called the old CEO and he says, what can I do? Is there any, what do you suggest? So he's like, open the top drawer of your desk. So he opened this top drawer and there were two letters then labeled 1 and 2. He said, open the first letter. He opened the first letter. It said, blame it on the previous guy and then move on. So that's what he did. And he carried on, things changed around, everything went back to smooth sailing. A couple of years later, the same thing happened. So he called this guy and he's like, yeah, okay, open the second letter. So he opened the second letter and it said, write 2 letters and put it in the drawer and move on. So I don't know what the moral or of the story was. I still don't know to this day. But what I do know is that to be a CEO, especially in your position, is such a a variable. There's so many variables that you have to encounter and think about, especially not being a practitioner at the same time. But what you have to do, and what you were saying just now about protecting dentists, not just for the next day or tomorrow or the day after, it's actually future-proofing dentistry and dentists. So, I mean, commendable to you.
So, and I can't remember if I'm ascribing this to the wrong person. I think in my early days, very early days, I might have come across Philip Tobias. Now, Philip Tobias, you might know, he was actually at Wits, and he wrote one of the anatomy books that we used at UCT.
There's a building named after him there at Wits as well.
Philip Tobias. I think it was Philip Tobias. I believe it's him, but if I'm ascribing this to the wrong, it was Prof. Philip Tobias. If I'm ascribing this to him, I apologize. But he said something that today we are able to do, but professionally. He was talking about medicine. People are able to do what they're able to do as doctors because someone else created the legacy. So if you want the profession, and I'm paraphrasing this, if we want the profession to carry on and make it easier for those that are coming after us, do something today to plan for those people. You can't just be maintaining it. And that has been one of my guiding principles. So I think for me, to your question, it's exactly that. I go like, if I wake up tomorrow and I go to work, and this is what maybe many people don't realize, I am the CEO. That's what people know. But I'm actually the marketing officer, the chief marketing officer. I am the PR officer. I am the IT officer. I am the operations officer. I am the stakeholder management officer. I'm just giving those and more and many more. I worry. Like I wake up and I go like, is my system working? IT-wise, is my accounting system working? Is my CRM working? How can I make it easier? And allow us to talk about this without going into the details. But for instance, when I came in, our SADA had, I think, around 11 to 13 different systems that needed to talk to each other, but they were not talking to each other. We worked on spreadsheets and systems that were siloed. Okay, I had to work a process of moving from those 12 to 13 odd systems and spreadsheets. I'm not talking the small ones, but like where our data was worked on or saved to where we are today. It was a process. Many people don't realize this, but I dealt with those legacies, and we moved to about 7. We moved to, and I was, we moved to 4 because we had not reached there. We moved to 4, and as it stands at the moment, basically we've moved to 2 main systems that talk to each other. Okay, so it's something that it keeps on. So if you were to take that narrative, because remember, I've got people that work for me, and I go like, we've got a very senior person now in my legal department that is going to be departing SADA after so many years. I have to think of what happens thereafter. So, and I have to make sure that life is easy for people. I can't. During my time, I didn't have AI. I didn't understand. I didn't know what AI was, although I knew. Luckily, I'm a very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Progressive.
I'm very progressive.
I know this. Yeah.
Very, very progressive.
I've seen you put out podcasts and things with AI.
Yes.
So Casey's a mover. He's a mover and a shaker. Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, I can't stop there.
Think ahead.
I must now say, how do we utilize responsibly so, and yet effectively, the new technology? How do I bring technology? Because I don't want a situation where 10 years down the line, someone says, but why did SADA become a cake again?
Yeah.
You know?
And also going to Yak's story, which you didn't know the moral about. You've been at SADA for 9 years now.
I started in 2016.
Yeah.
So
almost 9 years.
Yeah. No, it's about 9 years.
So it's too late for Casey to blame the previous guy. He has to make.
There's no letters in his cover.
He's writing his own letter.
I never, and that's one thing, and I'm going to carry on with my answer there.
Yeah.
I never really. That's one thing. If you're a good leader, and this you can ask every single person in my organizations that I've worked for. You never blame the other person. What you do is you assess what is existing and how you can build it up, because you don't understand the circumstances of the other person. What is it that they had to build from, and what were the challenges for them to get where they are? At the end of the day, I appreciate the predecessor to my role and say, what she did what she did. But if she had not done what she has done, I was going to have to start 5 years back. But today I don't have to start 5. I can only improve from there. And I can only hope that when I leave, I've built enough legacy to make life easy for the next person as a CEO. And so that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm giving you that as part of, I have to worry about how those things are functioning. I have to worry about HR. How are people, my staff, customer service, how are they dealing with my members? Are they helping them? It's when my dentist call, a simple thing, if my dentist call, how long do they wait on that call? And when they get transferred, do they get transferred to the right person the first time? And when they get transferred to to the right person the first time, do they get the solution the first time? Because think about it again. I said earlier on, my members being the dentists in particular and everyone else, they don't have the time. So when they call, they are selling their hours. So when they call, that is actually a sacrifice that they should be making money. Really, that's what it is. That's a sacrifice they should be making money. It's a sacrifice that they should be helping somebody else. And they're sacrificing to make an operational call. So it's important that the effectiveness of that and the value of that is actually realized. So I worry about that. I mean, I'm not going to go talk about the lay of the land in terms of certain processes that we put, but that worries me. I mean, yesterday I sat with a member, I'm talking a staff member, allow me, and I go like, I realized that you were not at your desk for this long. And it's not explainable. You have not spoken to your supervisor. I know nothing about. Where were you? It's important for me because that period, which I'm not going to say now, but that period that you were not there, if a member had called, it meant that what I've just described about the effectiveness of and the value of that call would have been lost.
So you're hands-on. You're quite hands-on.
I am.
Like I
actually am.
In your corner office and nobody sees you.
Absolutely. In actual fact, remember, we don't have a big team. A big team. So no, I'm definitely hands-on.
I actually must attest to that because I'm the president of the Gauteng South branch. And every time I do send an email to a certain department, I'm expecting a response from someone else. And then here I see Casey responding to it. And I was like, where does this guy find the time to be, responding to all of these matters? So, I mean, well done to you.
Well, thanks to I'm not going to say medical condition. No. I don't use. Thanks to my insomnia.
Same, likewise.
Yeah, because I really actually take a lot of time at night to do a lot of things. And I know, speaking dentistry. I mean, when I started writing my books, right, it was because I didn't know what else to do at night.
Your book is about, I know that you've got one book. Oh, you've got many books.
7 books.
You've got 7 books. But the one book I know, is about grieving for the loss of your spouse.
Yes.
And you publish on Amazon. And
yes. All my books are published on Amazon, the 7 books.
Yeah.
They've been published on Amazon. And maybe you guys are the first one to also hear this. Last week, I will reveal it properly. But last week, one of my courses, a program or a course was actually approved and published on Udemy.
Okay, wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we've got an exclusive reveal on the show.
You're the very first people to, not even my social media knows.
Lovely.
Nobody. This is the first time I'm saying. And so there's 3 more courses. If this goes well, there's 3 more courses that I've done that I'm going to publish on Udemy. So I utilize those time to actually do work, whether it is my personal stuff or my work stuff. And that's what my staff in particular, they will tell you that they will be, when they come to the office in the morning, they will see emails that have been sent at 1 o'clock a.m., 2 o'clock a.m. But at the same time, this is what I must say, because I don't want to be seen to be encouraging this. Balance is important. Balance is important. I find a way to balance that off. And I will never encourage it, and I don't encourage it with my staff. I don't.
Yeah.
I really say to my staff, unless if it's an emergency, when you have finished and you're comfortable with the work of the day, please attend to your family.
I'm glad you said that. I'll give you some interesting thing I saw on one of my colleagues' email signatures. They've got a little signature which says, please, even though I might be emailing you out of hours, I do not expect you to respond after hours. These are times that suit me, and I expect you to respond in times that suit you.
Actually.
So think about something like that. Because you're putting it out there. Because even though you might live the thing of, I don't expect them to do it, they might, just by seeing you email at 1, they might feel, I need to reply now. You know what I mean?
I have culprits.
Yeah.
I've got 1 or 2 culprits in my organization. Yeah. Although I think it's getting better, because I've said, when you see my mail, this whole thing of an integrated work system. Yeah. We work with your phone, and everything's on your phone. Yeah. Your emails pop up.
Blessing and a curse. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, but I think it's getting better. But I like what you've just said. I like what you've just said.
So apart from an author, a CEO, I know that you're a grief counselor. You also, an ordained minister, ordained pastor?
So I was not, okay, I would call myself a lay minister.
Okay.
I've been a pastor.
Right.
Some people still consider me a pastor, but I consider myself more of a minister. Right. And yes, I was locally ordained as a pastor at the Apostolic Faith Mission. That's a church that I was born, and where I continue to work. Although formally, when I'm in Johannesburg, I actually attend Rema Ministries, which is in literally 5 minutes away from where I stay. So yes, that's very strong for me. Yeah. And you will see a lot of stuff that I post is around Christianity. Okay. It's around this, but around Christianity. I also was, before COVID, a group exercise instructor at Virgin Active. Oh, wow. Yes. I used to actually go there 2 to 3 times a week.
I can just imagine KC on a bike, a spinning bike. It's like, hey, come on, let's go.
So I was doing something.
This is high energy.
Yeah, I was actually a what it's called boot camp instructor. Okay. Agreed. And also indoor cycling. I was doing those things. COVID came, and then children came, and then that changed. But now, like for instance, I even stopped going to gym, but now I'm back at gym, but not as an instructor, because I just don't have the time.
Yeah, when do you switch off? I mean, when do you spend time with family, friends, all that stuff? If you do.
Yeah. After hours. Yeah. After hours, my weekends, and my leave, I try. It's not always easy. I try to spend time. I think, I can't remember if I was discussing with you earlier, or was it you earlier, said I take leave. For instance, I took leave now recently when you guys were chatting to me. I was officially on leave, but I was not operationally fully on leave. It's like my leave, I think I should call my leave a lullish moment. In other words, it's a reduction of what I do. Because at that time, we had actually an emergency, which I'm not going to talk about the details now, but we had an emergency with one of our stakeholders. And I couldn't leave the board alone, couldn't leave my staff alone. I needed to be there in the trenches and dealing with the issues. And I remained there. But I do take my time. I really do take my time with my family to balance it off. So because of my... so I've got 3 kids. My a daughter, she's 5 this year, and I've got twin boys that are basically 3 this year. And It's about working around their time, knowing that I've got insomnia, and when they are asleep, I can use that time to do whatever I want to do.
Mm.
So that's for me. It's working. Get them to sleep. You play with them. You do whatever. You bath them. You feed them. You allow them to be themselves amongst. In your space. And when they are sleeping, then you get back to working. And I think I must thank my team that I work with, and I must thank the board because they do allow me that. Also, if it were, as a CEO, this is where things get nicer in a way, in that I know, for instance, if I had to go to school during the day because my kid is performing or doing whatever, I can take that 45 minutes if I needed to, speak to the chairperson of the board or speak to my team, go take my 45 minutes, be with the kid gets happy, I come back, and then I carry on to do my work. I've got certain things that I must achieve. They come back from school, I spend time with them, they go to sleep, and I carry on with my work.
Do you ever get stressed? Does anything stress you out? I get the sense that you look at challenges in a positive light and you see them and you take them head on.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm getting old.
Yeah.
There are two things that I always say I never got to suffer from before.
Yeah.
Even today, I never suffer from boredom per se. Like you will never see my vocabulary anywhere, even in my social space, saying I am bored.
Mm.
I never get bored. Okay. I never get bored. But I put that in quotation because I'm going to explain something about boredom. Then, until maybe last year, I don't think I've ever gotten stressed. But I think last year, an event or occurrences, for the first time in my life, they almost brought me to a very stressful situation. That's the first time I can ever say. So hence I'm saying until recently, nothing like that. And when I talk of boredom, I'm talking, like when someone's casually says, hey, Yak, I'm at home, I'm bored. I don't understand what that means.
Mm.
I don't. But I do get bored when, in my career, if I feel that the engine is running smoothly.
Okay.
Luckily, we haven't had that yet at SADA. But in my career, I have had those issues. I remember when I was a divisional director in one of my previous companies, long time ago, I went to the CEO. I was a divisional director and we had an MD. And I went to the COO, whom we as divisional directors were reported to, and the CEO of the group. And I said, guys, when I started this job, you gave me these challenges that needed to be fixed. And I fixed them. And every day I wake up to go to work now. Everything is moving smoothly. I'm bored. Give me another challenge. They didn't give me another challenge. And within a year I resigned because I was bored. Okay? So I wanted to separate the two boredom. Boredom in my career, if things are not complicated, I really thrive in dealing with issues.
Yeah.
Sophistication, and trying to solve issues, trying to bring some sanity in a situation. That's what I thrive in. It's like almost you're squeezing my juice out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This explains why, you mentioned earlier that you're older than Yak and me, but I don't see one single gray hair.
I do have some hair, actually.
I don't see a single. For the people that are listening, they won't be watching. There's absolutely, it's like almost jet black, the hair. Yeah. I mean, what's it like? A bit of a cheeky question, man. Because essentially you're the chief executive officer, but you're giving a service to your members who are dentists.
Yeah.
And healthcare practitioners.
Yeah.
Who are, I can say this because I'm one myself.
Yeah.
Not known for being the easiest of characters at times, right?
Yes.
And it's not just dentists.
Yeah.
I've been in law firms. It's professionals.
Yeah.
Generally, professionals are difficult to serve.
Yeah.
What's it like? Tell us.
Okay. So I think there is a thread in dentistry in South Africa. And I'll tell you my theory. The thread is this. Nearly, let's say 90%, give and take, 90% of the dentists in South Africa that operate are in private practice.
Okay.
What does that mean? It translates to their own businesses and own space, and they are used to telling everyone else what to do, including the patients.
They're the CEOs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if that is your membership, when they come to you, they come whether they realize it or not. When they talk to you, it comes from that perspective to say, if I can make decisions, you can also make decisions now. You can do this, you can do this. That's exactly what happens. So dentists are difficult from that perspective. Mm. They want answers now, they want you to solve this and solve that, all of those things. But also it comes from what I said earlier on, which I keep on going back. They know there are challenges, but they don't have the time or even the resources. Sometimes they know how to deal with some of the challenges that impact their operations. So I'm telling you, our dentists are difficult.
Understandably so.
Understandably so. But also coming from my environment as a CMO, if I can use that word, in the past, I've learned how to deal with people. And my staff will tell you one thing. I say, yes, our members are difficult, but I want to understand one thing, and the same that applies to me. I am here to serve exactly those difficult members. If everyone can understand that principle, it's easy. Because if you don't understand it, you will not accept and you will not deal with the members in an appropriate manner. So we know that. And I always say, I don't even mind, this is what I say, even to my top guys, my management committee, that you speak to a doctor and they say they say, and you keep calm, you deal with them, focus on the issue rather than the emotions around the issue. Focus on the issue, because I'm telling you now, if you solve the issue appropriately or deal with the issue appropriately, that member is going to go back and a happy member. You probably would have assumed and received a lot of beatings. Once that is done, you're most welcome. When we're in the office, my office is always, it's a glass door and my office is open all the time. I don't work with my staff on a appointment basis. They walk into my office whenever they want to walk to my office. Anytime. From the person that sweeps the floor to the main core people, they walk into my office and say, KC, can I talk to you? They close the door, they cry, they shout, they do whatever. In actual fact, I even suggested in one of my meetings, so one day if I've got enough money, I may end up creating what the Japanese did in some years ago. Forgot what the room is called, but in Japan, they call it a stress room. You know those bags that are used to, punching bags? They created a room in most of the factories. When you are stressed or you are angry with someone or a client or even your boss or anyone, these rooms were what do you call it? Soundproofed. You went in there, you locked the door. You are alone, you can scream, you can hit. Even if you put a name of whoever you're angry with and you did whatever you did, once you leave there, and apparently productivity increased.
What do you think we have these rooms soundproofed? Yeah, in this practice.
I love the way you described how you explain to your colleagues how to deal with members who are professionals. If I have to put it in footballing terms, you say, play the ball, not the man. Deal with the issue, not with the person. You have to understand where they're coming from to understand why they're behaving that way. And also they're taking time out of their day where they should be selling their hours to call you. They don't want to have to deal with glitches. Fascinating. Fascinating.
I mean, even a simple thing like communication. I always say to the people, if we must not be we must not operate like other companies in this world, where when you call and you ask a question, you go like, come on, doc, but we've sent you this communication yesterday. I don't allow that. I really don't.
But it's true.
Yeah,
it's true. You have sent that.
You probably have sent.
No, absolutely.
Doctors don't read.
But I will still say, rather explain to the doctor, rather explain to the member that this is all about, and then you can refer. You can get more details on the SADA ride or the bulletin that we send on this Friday and this Friday. But that's not how you communicate with. You can never say, doc, but we've sent this information before. That's not how we work.
Yeah.
That's not. So honestly, I say, speak. Oh, this is another thing that I say to my staff members. If the members did not exist, SADA would not exist. Literally.
Yeah. That's all you're there for.
I am here to serve the members. And by the way, let me tell you guys, I get beatings. I get beatings, criticism, and sometimes swearing, which I don't like. And when you swear, I will tell you that, Doc,
You gotta draw the line.
I don't enjoy this talk. I don't, and I understand your emotions. I understand your anger, but I don't.
Civil.
Yes,
yeah.
be
You
civil.
have to. Yeah.
But I will never in any way be aggro with you or anything like that. But can I give you a joke?
Yeah.
Which I tell the KZN branch. I arrived at SADA, I think it was the 1st of November 2016. And I think the second week, the KZN branch had an event. So it was my first time. I'm not yet settled. I'm still busy trying to even understand who's who in the zoo. I went there. I remember it was a very aggressive meeting with the KZN branch. When I arrived there, one of the members, or two of the members, or it could even be three, stood up and said, last year, you promised this, and they went on. Guess what? I never stood there and says, I was not there last year. This is my second week. I never. I noted all the issues because to me, and I think if anyone is listening that is leadership, this is what I call leadership. Leadership, you assume the good and the bad of your predecessors.
Right.
Whether it was good, whether they were wrong or not, whether it doesn't matter. But once you accept the role of a CEO, it's a continuum. It continues.
Yes.
So whatever failings have happened, if there were failings, they become you must own the failings now and try to resolve. So when they were saying all of this thing, I noted, I think it was about 5 issues. Then I said to them, guys, I hear you. By the way, I was not here then, but I hear you. Here, do I understand this is the 5 issues that you guys have got? Yes. I said, all right, give me 4 weeks. I would have resolved these issues for you. I went back to the office, and within the first week, I had resolved the first 4. The second week, I resolved. Today, KZN, and you can call them, they are one of my best branches today.
Okay, shout out to KZN, but I'm sitting right here. Yeah, like, the Gauteng South branch president is here, and you're rubbing it in his face. Mr.
I'm sorry, but yeah, what I'm saying, but the point I'm making here is, if you deal with the ball and the man. If you accept responsibility of the office, the CEO is not a position; it's an office. If you accept the responsibility of that office, you must accept the good, the bad. Remember, I said my predecessors as well, they did something that allowed me to continue. Yeah. So if there's also been failings, while I appreciate the good thing and the good work that they've done, I must accept and be accountable for the failings. I wouldn't say bad, but the failings, and then move to resolve those issues. And if you do that, that's how you actually make, you build relationships. Yeah. You build your stakeholder relationships as well.
Yeah. It also reminded me of something you said earlier. I can't remember in what context, but you mentioned the thing about you don't want people to pay you compliments. You actually want the negative feedback because that's the thing that helps you improve. I love that.
Yes.
I can relate to that with my podcast, for example.
Yeah.
Lots of friends and family are going to come and say, great job and everything. That's actually not the feedback I filter in. I actually filter that out.
Yes.
I want, and it sounds a bit pretentious to say that I want negative feedback, but I really do, because that's the only way I can improve.
I tell you, that is a trait of a person that wants to grow. And we must obviously not overdo it. You must not completely forgo the good comments that you receive. But when you become, or you gravitate too much to the positive side and you forget about looking at those negative comments or welcoming the negative comments, that's when you fail to see how you can improve. People that look at the call it the negative side of things, they tend to actually improve a lot. Mm-hmm. So in my previous role as the CMO that we spoke about, my leader at the time, she used to say to me, actually allow me to say it, KVT. She stays around here actually. I think here in Linksfield. She would come and she would sit with me. She would, KC, you have achieved this, you have achieved that, you have achieved this. Those type of things. And I liked it. I'm very happy with your work. And I remember this particular one. It says, I hear you, Kay, but I want you to spend the next 1 hour now. Tell me what, if let's say if the continuum of goodness or excellence is 1 to 10, and I've done 8 out of 10 in terms of one particular function or task, I want you to spend more time on the 2%. Now, 2%, and tell me what you think I should do, or what is it that I did not get the 10. Not because I want necessarily for her to change to make it 10, but I think in that 2%, that's where the potential for growth exists. Mm-hmm. That's where, if someone comes to you and say, it's brilliant, and yet someone comes to you and say, your lightning of your podcast is not the best. And they give you, so it must be constructive as well. It must not just be a statement. And maybe you can use that to actually get the constructive side of things. Say, what is it that you think we can change? Because then when you get that and you improve, even those people that have been saying, it's brilliant, now they'll come back and say, oh, this is even more brilliant.
Yeah. I love that you added that lighting. It's great touch. Yeah.
So, but that's how it is. So I actually do. I actually welcome to a level that when I got to SADA, there were no surveys done against the CEO where the staff members are actually telling you what they think about you. Mm. I instituted that. When I got to SADA, I says, you know what? I am performance managing all of you and all this and all that. But I also want you, from your eyes, I want you to assess me. The way you see it, and you may be wrong, but it actually helps me to see myself in the eyes of the people. I even use gamification for this. I remember they didn't know what I was doing. So I said to the staff one day, I said, I've got a prize. And I put the prize. I said, if this is what we're going to do today, all of you are going to act any part of me, good or bad, of the CEO. So become a CEO and you do things that I do.
Oh, that's sharp. That's sharp.
Yeah. And I did that. But in my mind, I was listening. I was looking at the actions and what they're doing, because that tells you a lot about how people perceive you. And something that so valuable that you might not even get anywhere else.
You see, you're giving away your tactics now. So the next time you do this, they're going to know.
They're going to know what it's about.
Yeah. No, don't do it. I've got different.
So, look, I want to keep on speaking, but I think we're going to run out of space in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Literally. Otherwise, I would have kept on going. If one of your twins or your daughter comes to you and says, Dad, I want to be a dentist. How would you respond? And why I'm asking this question, actually, another way to frame this question is, what do you think is the future of dentistry like in South Africa?
So I'm going to answer this twofold, because in that question, there's a loaded part about how we influence our children's careers. Yeah. Something that I've taught about in our church. I also I've founded an NGO, an NPO, NPC, but NPC, where we every year, we bring in school children and we bring people of the community. We do quite a lot of things. And one of the things is about career guidance. But let me start there before I come to dentistry.
Please do. That's more important in my mind.
I have said this. I've seen people that I studied medicine with at UCT. There's one particular person, I'm going to mention their name. That person, very clever, passed his medicine record time. Okay? And I've been close to him. It was one of my white friends, well, not necessarily the best, but one of my white friends. When we were studying, he never really liked medicine. He did medicine because his parents were medical doctors and they pushed him to do medicine. Basically, that's what they were preaching in his ear every day. And he did medicine to prove that he's clever. He passed well. He passed very well. But do you know what he did? On the very day that he qualified, you know, like when we bring our parents and one get the garb, one gets the cap, and he says to them, Mom and Dad, I've done what you wanted. I've done what you wanted, but this is not what I wanted.
I'm going to do something else.
I am actually going back to university. I've already applied. I'm going to do music. That's what he did. So I've learned that when it comes to your kids, the best way in my mind, I mean, my kids are very small, but having been a mentor, counselor, that kind of thing at church, I've learned that the best way is provide enough information for your kids. Don't tell them, if someone says to you, I want to be a dentist, ask the question, why do you want to be a dentist? Do you know what the dentist is all about? Then provide information. Once you've provided information of what they want to do, have you seeing that you say you are interested in dentistry because you want to help people? What are other...
Or you think you want to help?
Alternatives, yes. Yeah. What are other alternatives? But probe. But don't discourage. Yeah. Probe, give information. What's and all. What's and all. What's and all. Let them think. Because once they make that decision, they will own it. And I think...
Autonomy.
100%. It also gives them an opportunity to say, hold on, am I really wanting to be a person that helps? Or do I really want, it's about business, or it's about prestige, or in the community, or whatever, or it's about the
title,
stability, or is it about title, whatever it is. Because once you ask them that question, it hits home. And I tell you, they will start thinking broadly than that. And that's what I will do with my kids, by the way. My kids, I will not leave it to the school to give them career guidance. I want to give my kids more exposure to careers. I'm going to look at where they're going in terms of their thinking, and I'll expose. Even now, the other time, my kid says, Daddy, I want to play NES. I said, okay, all right. So do you know what a NES does? Yes, I've seen one. And the other day when I went to the hospital, I said, come with me. And I took her and I said, Ukona, that's my daughter's first name, only name. Ukona, this is a nurse. And I spoke to the nurse, can we just follow you for a few minutes just to show my daughter what you do?
Lovely.
And she allowed us. And at one stage, she got like, what, Daddy, what is that? What is that?
Needle.
And it was blood. No, it was blood. Like, yeah. But if she makes a decision, she knows that that's what it is. When I was at UCT, something that we don't get told, we just see these people wearing white clothes and a stethoscope. No one tells you what you go through.
Yeah.
When second year at UCT, you got your cadavers in the second year. You know that in this, or I think they moved it to first year, the second half of the first year now. In my first year of working with a cadaver, one of our colleagues, a student that has been with us from the beginning, when we started working with the cadaver, the second day they resigned. They said, no, this is not me. And they left. So give people information. So that's what I would say. If I come to dentistry and the politics of dentistry and the business of dentistry in South Africa, I still do think that we've got definitely there is future for dentistry. There's definitely future for dentistry. In South Africa, as it stands at the moment, we don't have enough dentists. And I know some dentists may disagree, but I can tell you from where I'm sitting and having looked at everything, we actually don't have enough dentists. What we are struggling with is how to get the the patient, to the dentist, and how to facilitate that. And by facilitation, I mean proximity as well as remuneration. That's all it is. I promise you that if we can solve these two issues, and by the way, when I talk about remuneration, I'm looking at the cost factor.
Funding, yeah.
The cost factor of dental care, the things that you have to buy.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I think we need to reimagine dentistry from what it is. The legacy that we have, those days, it worked. It's no longer going to work. And I'm saying this to you, to you, the two of you as dentists here. It's not going to work that, in my mind, if we are going to look at this, that you own by yourself a X-ray machine. I'm giving that as an example. We need to start thinking about what's the word I'm
collaboration.
Collaboration, and beyond just the collaboration, but beyond the facilities that we have. I mean, and I may be wrong in what I'm now going to say. The first one, I definitely know that that's the way to go. And in actual fact, with the NHI coming along, I'm telling you that this is the best way that we can make our times best, as well as not incur too much cost by ourselves. Because, why? NHI is going to whittle down even more the remuneration that is given to the to dentists by whatever per procedure. Per procedure. Guys, it's coming. So we need to also think differently. Sharing of costs is what I'm looking for. But
almost like a crowdfunding you're talking about between dentists.
Yes.
So multiple dentists will purchase
100%. But even more than that, this is now me, KC. I really think we need to relook at how, because of the fact that we've got lots of private practice in South Africa, I want to go beyond just the GPs, for instance, collaborating like that. I think we need to look at a team work. By this is, you have a GP, you have an oral hygienist, you have a specialist, whatever specialist you may decide on, whether you have all of them depending on the need of that community, and you share. Because if you do that, it's actually going to assist us in terms, NHI is going to push us, and not immediately push us for outcome-based treatment rather than the other way around, you know? So, and can you imagine now if I'm here and all of a sudden you realize part of my treatment need a particular specialist, you bring that specialist in, you all work together, it is cheaper. Well, I think it will be cheaper. It's in one space. It's also convenient for the patient. It's done. So I really answer your question. I still believe we have got challenges. I would not discourage anyone from being a dentist. I do believe we have an opportunity as an organization, I'm talking SADA, as well as the members of this organization, to actually reimagine dentistry. If we carry on the way we are carrying, dentistry in terms of the opportunity, business-wise now, I'm talking pure business, to make a living and a stable income is going this way.
For the listeners, Casey's pointing downwards.
Yes, it's going downhill. We need to be able, you need to wake up in the morning as a dentist and be happy that you can come here and spend 8 hours. And when you leave here, you feel good that you have been able to treat your patient to the best of your abilities and you have been adequately remunerated. That's what I want to see. And that's where we need to go going forward.
Yeah, and the patient is happy also.
And of course, that's why you've treated your patient properly, everything. And you are also, because where we have an issue, and I'm going to refer to what's happening in the UK, where we have an issue now is, I've got a few friends in the UK, so I know this. When you come with an NHS card, it's almost like they've got two chairs at the reception. What are you coming here privately? Are you coming here through the NHS card? NHS card. They give you a red, very fair. That's what it is. Here's a red chair. I'm giving an example, and here's a blue chair for the private. And the reality is that the dentists in the UK, I'm not saying it's prevalent, but I know that it's happening because I've spoken to a few people. They will spend more time where they feel they are well remunerated than where they're not well remunerated. Yeah. Because if you spend more time on where you are not well remunerated, guess what? In reality, you are subsidizing the cost of the treatment of that patient. And that's not what we want. So we need to fix this. And the fixing of this has got to do with the cost management here, and it's got to do with the funders. Yeah.
I loved your two-pronged approach to the question.
Yeah.
And I loved both answers, honestly. I'm going to try and do that with my kid also. It's about coaching. Actually.
Yes.
Mentoring and coaching. You don't, because we don't even know what career might exist in 15 years' time at the time that the kid asks us for guidance. We're definitely going to do a part 2 sometime because
I'm happy.
I think what he says to all his guests.
No. We're definitely going to do a part 2.
Yeah.
If you'll come back.
Absolutely. With pleasure. I'm loving this.
Me too.
I'm loving this.
And deep down inside, I've said this, I see this podcast as a career guidance show. That's why it's not only healthcare workers that come on here.
Yes.
Because I always ask myself the question, why did I do what I did? So KC, thank you so much. It's been high energy, high inspiration, exactly as I anticipated. When I was driving here, I was thinking, I love driving a bit longer distance because it gives me time to think and I'm not looking at a screen or something.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I'm a KC Makhubele fan, but I actually don't know why I'm a fan of you because I've only ever interacted with you in a professional level at these webinars and seminars and things, right?
Yeah.
But you've confirmed why I'm a KC Makhubele fan. You're a go-getter, you're a doer, you care about your community, you worry about your family, you are high energy, and you are so positive. And
thank you.
That's a very rare trait. And so, I hope you can keep on doing what you're doing for much longer. And when I see you in 5 years' time or whenever, you'll still have full black hair of head. Thank you so much for joining us, man.
No, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much to both of you.
Thanks, KC. I also hope there's no letters in your in the top drawer of your office.
No. Yeah. If you allow me to respond.
Yes.
And even today I say to anyone that reports to me, the best legacy that you can make or you can leave is that anyone that comes after you should not regret what they got into that role. That's what I do. So to a level that if you guys were to decide as members to fire me, I'll probably spend the next 3 weeks or the whole month that you've given me as notice to try and make sure that the loose ends I've not tied, I tie them up so that any other person that comes move in there and things are easier for them to assist you.
So what do you think the moral of that story was?
The moral of the envelope.
Letters, yeah.
I've got a feeling that the first one, you blamed the previous person. Now you do nothing enough to actually change the narrative. And now you're going to also leave a similar envelope. For me, the opportunity now is that now if I were to be asked to write that envelope, I would say, this is where we are. We have achieved this. But the journey continues. Take it from here to the next level. But make sure that also when you come here, whatever you leave, it's easy. It makes life easier for the next person. It must not make it difficult. It makes life easier for the next person. Everywhere where I've worked, and if one day I have to, I'll show you and I'll tell you, everywhere where I've worked, where I've held a position, those people that came after me, they can point to my legacy and how it is facilitate them to do even better than if I did not leave that legacy.
So it's it's about the captain, but also about the ship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Captain.
Thank you so much.
People are going to love this episode. We learned a lot. I learned so much. Thank you so much, man.
No, I'll
see you soon.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you so much, both. And thank you for inviting me. I love this.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.